So just want to do a quick walk around the components needed on the T3RRA system. So this is a legacy tractor, so an 8560 with a Gold Digger Pro Tile Plow on it. So we're going to run the T3RRA system on here, which uses all the John Deere components and just has a different software to actually tell the UCC, which is the I-grade controller, what to do. So components we have on here just on the plow is we have the Starfire receiver RTK. We have our implement receiver harness down to here. Since it's a legacy tractor, we have to run the external valve, so we have the external valve and harnessing here. Then we have our front extension harness, goes up here, and we have it routed creatively around here to get back to our ISO connector, so that we have our connection with our UCC from our tile plow. A little bit different view from this side here, so we're picked up from the other side there. There's our external valve, and the harnesses can be a little bit different length on this one, but we used a longer size to get through. So we have our constant power harness, our ISO connector, and that is our connection to our plow for electronics, and then we still have our power beyond connection to our external valve so that everything runs separately. From back here on our ISO connector, we have our Y in there for our UCC, our I-grade controller. We follow the harnesses back to here. And just on this machine, it's pretty open back here, so got the I-grade controller connected here with all the constant power harness on there plugged in. We don't need the feedback connector hooked up because we're using the external SCV. This is our plug with our serial port adapter for the T3RRA system, and it's also the same plug that uses the external valve controller for the external valve that's on the tile plow. So then we just follow it up, we all that stuff running in the back window. We are running a Starfire receiver on the roof, and that'll only be used for the auto track portion, so it doesn't have to be at RTK. This tractor does have an ATU, so we can run our patterns, and we can run them our straight track 30 feet apart, 40 feet apart, whatever we want, and do our pattern tile. We have the regular John Deere cab harness in here with your connector for the Green Star display, and in this instance we have a 4640. So we do have quite a pile of wire beside the seat, and I have an inverter running in here for the Windows tablet, so we can get a car charger for that, or 12-volt charger, but it's kind of a temporary installation where we have it. So but on the 4640, we're going to run our I-grade so that we can put it in and out of remote control, and we're going to connect our serial port, and that's going to get all its information from the UCC. And this is our T3RRA tablet, and it's going to run all the software to automatically feed the information to the 4640. So this is the serial control on here, the serial port here. That's the data coming from T3RRA. And so that's the basic components on here. As far as to get the tablet hooked in, we have a USB to serial port adapter, and the serial port adapter goes back to that 12-pin plug on the UCC. So this tractor we had to add, since it's a legacy tractor, we added the cab harness with the ISO connector, and that would be a pretty standard installation. And then just beyond that, we added the application controller, and so everything's running through the 3-pin convenience outlet, because I teed all the power into the junction block in this wiring harness under the seat. And this is our external valve remote, and that's necessary on there we can manually control the valve just like on any other 8 or 9000 series tractor. Retract and extend, and it allows us to go forward and click it into automatic mode, just like when we're using any other automated function on an 8 or 9000 series tractor. So that will put it into automatic and allow the tractor, even this legacy tractor, to be able to run iGrade software. I want to review some of the setup steps for getting the T3RRA and the tile plow set up on the 4640 for automatic use. So this is one of my custom home pages. There's several different versions of this module that you can use. This is what I chose here because we are running guidance. We want to be able to have our AB lines down here. We want to be able to turn our auto steer on and off and set our tracks from the same plate to run iGrade. There's not very much interaction with iGrade on this screen except the iGrade on and off button, which allows it to go in automatic mode. So in order to make adjustments on iGrade, we're going to go into ISO VT. We're going to go into our menu. We're going to pick our universal CAN controller. And we should see, initially we're going to see a screen like this that says controller setup. And so we can go through and edit our GPS offsets. So we have our implement receiver height, we have our machine receiver height, we have our implement receiver, and we have the offsets in there for that. And then we can configure our external valve. So we have that. If we had it on a 8 or 9R with electronic remotes, those would show up in there. We can go in here and edit our serial port. And we want to make sure that we're at 115.200 for communication. We want to enable all the messages for the version 2 iGrade controller going to the T3RRA because it will accept all that information. We want to have the hertz at 5 so everything matches and communicates. So not too much on this one. We got diagnostics on this page, but the iGrade is the rest of our setup. And so on this page, it's going to be our home page for this, and it tells us our grade's off. We're in yellow, so it's waiting. We can go into setup, and we can go in here and a lot of the same stuff we had on the other one, remote control. If we go into remote control edit here, we can actually go in here and we can choose our height control options on the iGrade controller. Remote control is going to use the T3RRA, grade, and plane control are going to be the standard iGrade operation features we had in the past, and then there's a new one in this last software update for depth control. And then we're going to set the serial port up. That stuff's all set up on that last page. So go back. If we were on, these are the same features we would have had for other machines on tractors that have the CAN bus and the CCD connection. You would have your load limiting and your max cut, and that stuff would be available, but it's not in this version of machine. Calibrations, the control sensitivity, that is how fast we're going to react to the up and down on a vertical motion. On a tile plow, we're not using roll sensitivity, so we're going to kind of ignore that one. Load limiting, we're not going to use that because we don't have a 8 or 9000 series tractor. SCV thresholds, we do have to go in here and extend test and set your thresholds till you get smooth movement, and retract test till you get smooth movement. And if you have the hoses hooked up in reverse to the valve, you can just click reverse output and it will essentially run it in backwards, so you don't have to switch the hoses around, or in this case replumb it. And as far as diagnostics, it does have a nice screen here for diagnostics where they give us the different colored dots and what is enabled or disabled to allow iGrade to go into automatic mode. So we have, it's activated, we have GPS, we have the elevation valve, it's available, we have it calibrated. If we didn't do that SCV threshold calibration, this says no, and we're unable to go into automatic. We have T3RRA feeding information, so we have a defined surface, and it's available because the serial port's live. We've calibrated the scraper height using the plane setting in here, so we have to go back to our plane control and add, and while we're in a plane control, we zero it to the ground at an origin point. And down here is if we have to have these enabled, so we have to be moving, and we have to have the valve in auto mode in order to get going. So And then once these are met, then we can toggle the button on the main iGrade page. Oops, on the status page, this button would be highlighted and we'd touch it and it would enable it. So, and then we would be ready to go.